The really sad part about it is I wasn't supported. I was told that the people that we were fellowshipping with, I was told that I was hurting my children and I was hurting the fellowship because he wasn't in the home. And so within a few months, I let him move back home, which was like the worst thing. He should have never came back home, but with no support, like no support is one thing, but being told that you're
Yeah.
harming your children because you're not allowing well, they were actually being harmed a whole lot more
Yeah.
with him in the home.
Welcome to Radiant Mom Rising. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, and in each episode, we dive into amazing stories, insights, and conversations that help moms like you chase your dreams and embrace your worth. Let's rise and shine together.
Hey, mamas, welcome back to the show. Forgive me if I sound a little stuffy on the day of recording this. I've been a little under the weather, but here I am and happy to be here. I love the work that I do. I love this podcast. I love bringing you these amazing inspirational stories and guests who just share so much vulnerability and, uh, you know, inspirational evidence of showing how no matter how hard life can be or what we all go through, we all can decide in the end who we want to be, how we want to show up, and how we can shift and change our story for the future. And it's truly what I'm all about and what I hope to inspire in people. And, today was one of those days where I was just having a rough day at work. Things were just stressful as usual, and I could see myself feeling that way. So I decided to tune in and meditate and just take that pause and really just get into a meditation. And as I worked and allowed myself to release that tension, that cortisol, and allow myself to be more in the flow, it was amazing because after the meditation and the visualization that I went through and just being in the energy of Kathy, who I was tuned in with at the time, I happened to pull up my phone because I saw a message had come in, and my husband had taken this beautiful picture. And if you haven't seen it yet on my Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, go check it out because I did a post about it because like I literally cried the moment I saw it because it was of a yellow butterfly. And so, for anyone who doesn't know my backstory with that, a while ago I had asked God to give me a sign. Am I on the right path? Am I meant to be an entrepreneur? Am I doing all the right things? Someone encouraged me to ask him to give me a sign of all things. I don't know why I decided a yellow butterfly. And I remember that same week later when we were playing pickleball, my Uncle Michael happened to come up to me and said, I found this on the ground. I didn't know if you wanted it. And it was a yellow butterfly patch that must have fallen off of somebody's bag or something. So in that moment, I remember already feeling that relief and that like, oh my God, there it is. I didn't see that coming. I almost thought I was going to see like a real yellow butterfly, maybe. I don't know. It's weird the things that can happen, but it was so inspirational in that moment. And then when that happened and I allowed myself to be in that flow, and then of all the things for my husband to capture in this amazing picture, because he's so good at photography. Oh my God, it's yet another gift of my husband's, let me tell you. He's supposed to be a chef. Now he's also supposed to be a photographer. He's amazing. So anyways, that was so heartwarming for me because it was just, again, God giving me that confirmation that, Mary, you're good. I got you. This is where you're meant to be. It's okay. And I've been flowing in that all day. And I just wanted to share a little bit about that before getting into today's episode. But I just want you to know that no matter how difficult this road is for you, when you decide that you want to change your life and to make moves, take risk, pursue your dreams, whatever it is that you're making a big decision that's outside of your comfort zone, that's stretching you beyond what you thought you were ready for, but deep down you're also called to do this. You're meant for this and you want to keep doing this. And I just highly encourage you to just keep going. And allow yourself to be surrounded by those who will motivate you, uplift you, have your back, and keep you going in those times where it feels so freaking hard. Because without those people, it is easier for us to talk ourselves out of it. I have to do a huge shout out to the women that I meet with on a regular basis, because if it wasn't for them, I probably would have quit a long time ago. But they keep me strong, they keep me grounded, and they keep me reminding myself of why I'm doing what I'm doing. So don't be afraid to look for that, to ask for that support that you need. And getting into today's episode, I want to ask you, have you ever felt like you were drowning in a toxic relationship, convinced that staying was your only option? Lord knows I've been there and thankfully didn't stay. But I know what it's like. And maybe you've been told that leaving isn't an option, that your worth is tied to keeping a commitment, even when it's hurting you. And today's guest, Beth Brunk, oh my God, she knows that pain all too well. For years, she endured emotional, mental, sexual, and even spiritual abuse in her marriage. But her story didn't end there. Beth found the strength to break free even when it meant facing judgment and loss. And she's here to share her powerful journey of healing, rebuilding, and reclaiming her worth. So if you've ever questioned your own value or struggled with toxic relationships, this episode is for you. So without further ado, Beth Brunk. Welcome back to the show. I am excited to introduce our next guest today, Beth Brunk. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. When I met you and heard about your story, it was very powerful. And I have had another guest on here who had a similar story. And this is such a hard topic that is hard to share about. It's hard to be open about. So I want to commend you and honor you today for being here and sharing your story. So thank you, first of all. And I'd love for you to get started by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about what you do.
All right. Well, I'm Beth Brunk, and I was raised in a conservative Christian home. I was raised in the Old German Baptist Brethren Church, and most people don't know what they are, who they are. The women look a lot like the Amish. They're often mistaken for Amish, but they are not. They're different from the Amish in that they drive cars, they have electricity. I went to public school, so they're different in some of their beliefs as well. But if you don't know the difference, they're often mistaken for Amish. And in that, I was raised that divorce is wrong and you do not get divorced. Once you're married, you're married. So I got married at 20 and I've had 5 children. I have 5 children, 4 living, one that has died. And my marriage was, unbeknownst to me, the man that I married was a user, consumer of explicit videos. And I did not know that, but it became pretty evident really early, as in the wedding night, that there was something very wrong.
Can I ask you something? How long were you with him before you guys actually got married?
So I grew up in the Midwest, so I'm from Ohio originally.
Hmm.
We dated for a year and we were engaged for a year.
Yeah, and so he waited to show you these real signs.
Well, exactly. And he lived in Washington State. So
So
I was in Ohio. It was a long distance
distance.
relationship.
Hmm.
And honestly, I talked with my mother. I had something just felt off to me, but I couldn't tell you, I couldn't like say that this is what was off.
Yeah.
And I talked to my mother and I talked to my dad, and my dad was like, Beth, he treats you like a queen. You need to don't let him get away. Some other friends told me like the same things. He treats you so good. Don't let him get away. And no one knew until 15 years into the marriage exactly what was going on.
So you dealt with that for 15 years.
Mhm.
Well, if you are open to share a little bit more about that, tell us that experience, a little bit more of what you endured as he started uncovering who he truly was.
Right. So on the wedding night, I expected like exploration, getting to know each other intimately, that kind of thing. There was none of that. It was he did his thing, rolled over, and went to sleep. And I was left laying there like, what just happened? And trying to go to sleep myself. And the next morning at breakfast, I remember literally choking back tears and trying to eat, thinking, I'm stuck. What have I done? I can never get out of this. Because again, I was raised that divorce was wrong. And so that happened. And then on our honeymoon, he masturbated in front of me. And I didn't even at that time have language for what was going on. I didn't know what masturbation was. I just knew how it made me feel, like really, really gross. And yeah, just it was horrible. And then a month after we were married, he raped me. And that continued for several years. It wasn't all the time, but there were definitely instances where I said, no, I wasn't interested. And he didn't care. He did what he wanted anyway. And my family knew something wasn't right, but they didn't know to the extent what wasn't right. And I didn't know. He confessed 2 years into the marriage that he looked at pornography. And I was the dutiful little Christian wife, and I forgave him, and he cried tears, and we prayed, and life went on. And another couple, 3 years, he confessed again that he looked at pornography. And again, I forgave and we went on, but we sought help from a minister. And this minister, in this conversation with the minister, he said that he looked at pornography since 12 years old. But he looked at pornography because I didn't want sex. And it wasn't until years later that like this lightning bolt hit and was like, Beth, you aren't the issue here. You didn't know him till you were 18. That's 6 years before 12 years.
Yes.
This is not your fault. And like the weight that fell off of me was massive. But in that conversation, instead of the minister saying, well, then, dude, this isn't her problem. This is your problem. I was told, well, you just need to have sex every single day and as many times a day as he wants to, so that he's not looking at pornography.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm sorry. That ticks me off. Somebody would say that to you. It's supposed to be a priest or, that is awful. I'm sorry that you were told that because it is bunchable. And I'm grateful to you that you have come a long way since that situation. I can't imagine having to bring children into the world and being in that kind of toxic situation. Can you share a little bit about how that unfolded along the journey and what that was like for you?
That's one of the hardest things for me to talk about
I'm sorry. Yeah.
because there's so much about my children's childhoods that I don't remember. So there's not only was there his pornography addiction and the abuse, there was emotional abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, obviously. There was also scriptural abuse. He would twist the scriptures to
Oh,
say that, well, I can take what I want, your body is mine. That's not what the Apostle Paul meant when he wrote those words, but he twisted scripture commonly to say that, well,
they do that to fit their agenda. I cannot stand that. That's why I'm not a church person. Yeah, I do hate when people love to use the Bible as a negative tool instead of the
justification.
beautiful message that it's supposed to provide. Yeah, I know. Oh, keep going though.
And there was also physical abuse towards the children. So my oldest is 23, and then I had another daughter born who would be 21, but she died from a reaction to antibiotics when she was almost 3 years old. So while I have all of this going on with my husband's pornography addiction, my daughter also died. So, and my oldest son was 5 months old when she died. And there's this like, so I've got grief and I've got survival mode already that I'm struggling as a wife and a mother because of what's happening to me with my husband already. And then my daughter dies. And so I just was in survival mode. And I honestly did not start coming out of that survival mode until the first time I kicked him out at the 15. We'd been married for 14 years, almost 15 years. I kicked him out of the home. And that's a whole nother story. We can get into that later. But I literally, so our daughter died and he went to bed with depression because it was his daughter. And like I had to carry on with life. No, I was the glue that held everything together while he went to bed and did nothing. And I have a lot of regrets. I have there is such a thing as reactive abuse. I've been there. Unfortunately, I've done that. And so I don't remember a lot of my children's childhoods just because I was so grieving and then survival mode from the abuse that I was enduring. And that's been a hard thing for me to not remember their childhoods. They'll say, "Oh, do you remember this or that?" And I'll be like, "No, I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all."
Yeah.
So it was hard. It was really, really hard.
And then, well, it sounds like you, I mean, you've carried a lot, and as women, as moms especially, we do carry a lot of guilt and a lot of we're human, and when you are already going down such a hard path, we don't understand, and not a lot of us, for me anyways, I know I didn't have the knowledge back then, neither did my mom, of how what we do affects our children so much, how it conditions them, how it builds, their conditioning and their beliefs as they get older that they'll have to eventually deal with. And the I love to see that we're doing this more. We're talking more about these things. We are really here to support each other and help each other to see that, yeah, we've made some mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. No one's perfect. But, what can we really start doing now to make sure that the rest of our lives and the future of our children is not going to be anything like what we've experienced, and where we can really help motivate and inspire one another to know that we don't have to be defined by our mistakes or what's happened in our past. We get to choose now who we want to be, where we want to go. And obviously you are on that journey, and I commend you for being able to share this and be, you know, honest and real, and just know that there's so many people listening right now who will resonate with this, who will relate to this a lot. And I obviously know you come a long way of probably beating yourself up about that, even though we tend to still do that in our own ways. But I hope you don't, because I value the fact that you're in such a different place now. And I know we're going to get to that eventually, of like where you've turned everything around for yourself and what you're doing now to help others. Please, by all means, continue with this part of your journey that, now you've gotten to a point where you finally kicked his butt out and he needed to go. What was that transition like for you?
Well, I don't even know why, but one morning I woke up and I rolled over and I said, "Are you still looking at pornography?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "You need to move out." And he didn't believe me. And so a few days later, I said, "Hey, have you found somewhere to live?" And he said, "No." And I said, "I was serious. You need to move out. What you're doing is affecting the children, and that can't be in my home anymore. You need to move out." The really sad part about it is I wasn't supported. I was told that the people that we were fellowshipping with, I was told that I was hurting my children and I was hurting the fellowship because he wasn't in the home. And so within a few months, I let him move back home, which was like the worst thing. He should have never came back home, but with no support, like no support is one thing, but being told that you're
Yeah.
harming your children because you're not allowing well, they were actually being harmed a whole lot more
Yeah.
with him in the home because there were things going on that I didn't know about.
Yeah, it's sad when you're trying to put trust in people who are supposed to have your back. They're supposed to be, there for you. They don't know what's going on in your home. Nobody does except you. And for someone to sit there and tell you something like that, that's just so hypocritical and so wrong. And I'm sorry that, yeah, that again, that you had to go through something like that, because things like that just again, that grinds my gears.
Right. Right. Yes.
Like,
Yes, it
I
does.
know, bless your heart. And so, gosh, so you had to bring him back in, and sure it was no time at all before things were right back to the way they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he had not dealt with any of his issues. He had not,
Did
um,
he even think that he had, like, did he ever even acknowledge that he had a problem there? He just, yeah, a lot of times they don't. And when you don't, yeah.
problem is right here.
Oh, of
The
course.
problem,
Oh, so
the problem
easy.
is right here.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's so easy for them to blame everyone else, but that's people who don't want to really change. So, yeah. Okay.
The thing is that it was in the last couple of years that it really hit me. I was talking to someone and he had this thing that he would say, people change, but not much. And I never like took it as him saying that about himself, but I realized in the last couple of years, he was telling me exactly what he was going to do and what his behavior was going to be by saying that people change, but not much. He had no intentions of changing his behavior. He had no intentions of working on himself to deal with the root causes of the addictions. So I just I didn't recognize that. I didn't understand that that's what he was telling me. So yeah, he moved back home and we pretty quickly had separate bedrooms and he was home for almost exactly 3 years and he choked our oldest son to the point of blackout. And I said, you need to move out. And I had healed enough till that time that I said, you are moving out and you are not moving back home until you get significant help. Anger management classes, therapy, whatever it takes. You're not moving back home until I see a definite, absolute change in you. He never moved back home and we're now divorced.
Ugh. I hate to say it, but to me, that's a blessing. I mean, it really is. I feel so much for people in the religious world who are told and pressured into the idea that, marriage is sacred to the point of no divorce. And it's like, they don't even stop and think about, like, in some cultures where, like my grandparents on my mom's side had arranged marriages and they weren't even in love. Like, they didn't even love each other. So it's like, well, what about that? Like, there's so much contradiction to that bothers me. It's like to sit there and tell someone that they have to be forced to stay in something that's horrible, like truly horrible, for the sake of what? Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I guess for me, that's always bothered me, and the whole idea. So I'm proud of you for getting that divorce, for getting out of that. And I'm sorry that you even had to endure that so much from that pressure. It's like societal pressure, right? They just want to make us think that we have to live and be and act a certain way in order to fit in. But it's like, no, every one of us have our own unique differences that make us awesome, and is something we should all like embrace and celebrate. And even if we don't always agree with everyone, that's their life. That's their way. You live your life for you and allow yourself to attract the right people for yourself by being authentic, by being you. Because if someone can't accept you for who you really are, then they're just not worth your time. So it's I'm excited for you that you've gone on this new journey. And yeah, I can't even imagine, like, after all those years of dealing with all this, what life was even like to get started afterwards. Can you please shed some light?
Well, before we go there, can
Okay.
I just say to anyone who's listening that has a story similar to mine, that's been, I, I will also just clarify, I am no longer part of the Old German Baptist Brethren Church. They do not wear earrings. I'm not wearing, I'm wearing leggings with a skirt, but I'm not wearing jeans. I wear jeans. They
Good.
don't wear jeans. I'm no longer part of that. Okay. But can I just say to anyone who is a Christian, and I'm still a believer, I practice the entire Bible. I don't call myself a Christian, but something someone said to me that really, like, oh, it hit me so hard was that Beth, God values you as a human being and as his daughter more than he values the covenant of marriage. As a human being, I am worth way more than a covenant of marriage. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to rush out and get a divorce if you're in this situation, because I do know a few, a few marriages that have survived this and they've came out stronger on the other side. I know way more who have not survived this and are divorced or getting divorced, because as human beings, we have so much value and worth, and it's not tied up into a marriage covenant.
And what I want to say to that too is like how you said that God values you as if you're his child. Well, as a mom and as a parent, like how do you view your child and what would you want for their life? Would you want them to deal with the same things, go through that same kind of stuff? So what would make you think that God would want to see you suffer like that? You
Amen.
know? Yeah,
Amen.
I love that. But and I'm not a church person, but I do believe in God. God has been there for me in so many ways. I would be crazy to deny him for what he has personally done for me. I've always had that. Like, that's for me. He was always a father I never had. He's my dad, and it's amazing the journey he's taken me on and all that I've learned and am learning right now for myself. And this is a big part of it. And it's so wonderful that you can come out of things like this because so many people don't. And that's why I love for you to share this journey because I want you to also provide that hope for people that there is life after something like this. Hey, mama. I know what it's like to feel like you're just going through the motions, showing up for everyone else, but wondering, what about me? You have dreams, you have a purpose, and I truly believe you're meant for more than just surviving the day. That's why I'm offering something really special, a free Radiant Mom breakthrough session with me. This is just a heart-centered conversation where we get to the root of what's been keeping you stuck and help you find real clarity on your next steps. And if by the end of our time together, we both feel like I can support you further on this journey, we can talk about that, but no pressure, no expectations. My goal is for you to walk away with a renewed sense of direction and confidence to take action now. So, if you're ready to shift things in your life, go grab your free session using the calendar link in the show notes before spots fill up. I'd love to connect with you. All right. Now let's get back to the show. So, if you will share a little bit about what that was like and how did you get your life back? What kind of steps did you take along the way to really get past that?
Well, lots of pain, lots of healing, lots of self-examination. Excuse me. So he moved out, and my oldest daughter tried to run away because I mentioned earlier there were things going on that I didn't know about. He was grooming her. I had heard him say to her, and I lit into him. I was so angry. I had heard him say to her, when you wear that, it makes me want to have sex with you. Or when you dress that way, you're sexy. Excuse me. And I was so angry when I heard him say those things to her. Well, what I didn't know was he never outright molested her that she can remember, but he definitely pushed the boundaries of where he could touch her and how he could touch her. I believe there was grooming of my boys as well. I have 3 girls and 2 boys. I believe there was grooming of my boys as well. And I know my youngest daughter, he publicly put on his Facebook page several years ago that she had came to him upset because her brothers told her she was ugly, and he proceeded to tell her that she was going to grow up to be a beautiful, sexy woman. And I was like, no father tells their daughter that she's sexy, but yet the men on the comments that agreed with him and said he was okay to say that to his daughter, I was like, I knew some of these men, and I was like, you guys have as much of a problem as he has. This is not okay. So I know he was also grooming my youngest child. And thankfully, there's a restraining order. He cannot see the youngest two children. My oldest daughter will have nothing to do with him. She actually tried to run away because I was so emotionally constipated, if I can use that, that I couldn't hear her when she tried to talk to me. Like I could not. And I was also had been so beaten down by him that like I couldn't, I wasn't there for her. And she didn't actually speak to me for 2.5 years. That was super hard. That was so hard. I lost relationship with her for 2.5 years. My oldest son, I lost relationship with her because I was married to him. My oldest son cut me out of his life because I was divorcing his dad. So I had these two completely opposite ends of the spectrum that I'm trying to navigate. And I'm happy to report that both of those relationships have been restored. I now talk with both of those children at least weekly. My daughter lives in Salem, so I don't see her, but my son lives right here in the same town, and I see him just about weekly and talk with him, text with him in between and everything. So I saw a lot of miracles in the last year with my children. My daughter, I've been talking with her for 3 years now. We've been rebuilding our relationship for over 3 years. My oldest son, been working on rebuilding relationship with him for probably a year and a half, 2 years. So if you're in that position too, where your husband in some way has destroyed your relationships with your children, there's hope there too. Really, literally, I feel like that he's restoring the years that the locusts have eaten. And life was hard and life was horrible, but my life now is so beautiful. I have a protection order. He cannot contact me. My two youngest children have protection orders or restraining orders. He cannot contact them. My oldest daughter will have nothing to do with him. And I don't know how much my oldest son has to do with him. But just be encouraged. Really, just be encouraged that it doesn't always have to be this way.
Yeah.
That relationships can be restored and your joy can be restored. I can't tell you how many people see me and they're like, Beth, your skin glows and your eyes shine. And I see within myself, I actually said to my sister just literally this month, I said, I realized that when we were together in December, laughter came so easy to me. And I haven't had that for so many years. In fact, my youngest daughter and I, we like to watch this TV show called Heartland. I don't know if others like it or not, but if anybody even knows what it is, it's a Canadian TV show about horses, and we like to watch it. And we were watching it, and I said, I didn't remember that we've watched it several years ago. And I said, I didn't remember that Heartland was so funny. And she goes, yeah, it is. And I said, I don't think I laughed when I watched it the first time. And she goes, you didn't. You were in a horrible marriage. And this is coming from an 11-year-old. And I was like,
Your own wisdom.
just recognizing that within myself shows the amount of healing that has happened. And it makes me so excited.
I'm excited for you, Beth, seriously. And I know you're kind of in the newer stages of the healing, and it's definitely, you are obviously evidence that it is not only possible, and it isn't an easy road. I mean, it takes time to get healed from your past. Lord knows I'm still working to heal a lot of things from my past that I've endured during my times. But I also know that I am so grateful that I made the decisions to like walk away from that lifestyle and to keep down this journey, because I believe that we have a calling, and some people really, you will just ignore that calling for many, many years and just keep going on with life of what a lot of us are taught we should be doing or what we're allowed to want. It's the typical, okay, I gotta be safe, do whatever. And there's some of us who have this calling that just know we're meant for so much more. And we know it's a risk. We may not have any clue of what's going to come on this next journey, next chapter of our lives, but we choose to do it anyways. And that's been something that God's been putting on me a lot here of late personally, is that whole just do it anyways. Like, I know it's scary. I know you don't know what's on the other side, but I do. And can you trust me? Because that is what has been helping me to just do it and not overthink it. Like, I don't know about you, but I know I tend to do. Um, and it's so beautiful to see people who have gone through things like you, who are turning their lives around, acknowledging, hey, I'm human. I made these mistakes, but I can heal. I can change the course. And I love that you're building your relationship with your kids again. That's so precious. And what you're doing is going to be such a good influence on them and helping them in their journey on their life as they, go out there and meet people and have relationships and hopefully have children themselves, things like that. So it's like it's so nice to see that you're on this great path. And so your other ones are young. How young are they?
So my children are 23, would be 21, 18, 14, and 11.
14, 11. Okay. Oh, and the 14, 11, they still definitely have a good amount of time with you to really and take and to see what you're doing. That's really a big part of my mission and why I'm doing what I'm doing for moms, because I believe that it really does start with us. When we live fulfilled lives, when we allow ourselves to stop thinking in the old ways that we have to put everyone else first instead of ourselves and actually start putting ourselves first, we actually show up even better for everybody else. And we, are great role models. We set those examples for our kids to believe in themselves, that they can do more than just your everyday things. Like they can be whatever they want to be, and they get to dream big and to love themselves, accept themselves. Because I think that's the biggest thing I struggled with growing up was the low self-esteem. Didn't never really having that influence of how a man should treat a woman, or having a mom who dissed herself, so I thought that must mean I'm ugly too, or I'm fat too, and all those things that carried on and caused me to attract all the wrong people for my life for so long. It's just a really nice thing to see that you're on this path. You're definitely not going to regret it. You're going to love the outcome and you're going to keep going. So, right now, tell me a little bit more too, as far as, are you currently helping others in situations like that?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I'm a intimate partner betrayal trauma coach.
Oh, God, I love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I have a group coaching. I
Hmm.
do coaching because when, so I've been on this healing journey since I kicked him out for the last time in 2019. So it's for 6 years. I've
Okay.
been really diving deep, or as I
Yes.
like to say, I ran hard after healing.
Yes. Yes.
I've
Yes.
been chasing it down.
Yes. That's the way to be. Instead of like, that, man, there's no time like now.
Right, right, exactly. So I have discovered that when we are in a community of others who have been in similar situations, we recognize, whether we recognize it cognitively, our subconscious recognizes that we're safe because these women have been through something similar, and they're not going to victim shame. They're not going to victim blame. They're not going to judge. They're not going to be unkind because they've been there. They know what it was like for themselves. So why would they do that to someone else? They're not going to. And so I think it's really, really important for us to come together in community. And so that's why I do group coaching. I've created a program where we work on self-care. Self-care is vitally important. We have to be modeling that for our children. It's not selfish. It's not at the expense of our children. It's
Hmm.
for them.
Yeah.
And so we learn how to practice self-care, true self-care, not eating chocolate cake and taking bubble baths.
I
They
love it.
have their place, but that's not true self-care. We decide what our priorities are so that we can set boundaries around those priorities.
Yeah.
We learn to take our thoughts captive. We learn how important journaling is because in our heads, it's dark, right? But when things are exposed to the light, they lose their power. So whether it's speaking something, whether it's writing something, whatever it is, as long as we get it out of our dark head and into the light, I think about like a child being scared that there's a monster in their room. In the dark, they're scared that there's a monster in their room. But as soon as you turn the light on and expose that monster, it completely loses its power. It's the same thing with our thoughts. They're in our dark head. They're the monster in our head. And as soon as we expose them to the light, they lose their power. So journaling is super important if you're in this place. And I don't mean having to sit down every day and write 20 paragraphs. No,
Yeah.
it could be 2 or 3 sentences and that's it. But
Yeah.
you're getting it out of your head and you're getting it on paper. And then if you want to burn that paper, go for it. Personally, I have all my journals. And I recently told my daughter, I said, when I die, you need to be the one to go through my books because I've written all kinds of stuff in the books that I read. And you need to be the one to go through my books and you need to be the one to go through my journals. And if you want to just throw everything away and not read it, you go for it. If you want to read it, you go for it. If you think your siblings should read it, you go for it. Whatever. I don't care. But you are
Yeah.
tasked with going through my books.
I'm totally with you on that. Journaling is a very powerful tool. Like it really helps you to get things out. And for me, I love personally reflecting. Like I can go back to my journal and read something from a year ago and be like, wow, the way I thought, the things I was going through, and then to see how I've come so far in just a year's time sometimes is so empowering as well. So I'm so for that as well for anybody. I mean, whether you get your voice recorder out and do it like a voice, if you don't have time to write things down, I always love doing that too, just to see the growth in ourselves. And you're right, to get it out, and I'm all about reframing too. Like, when you catch yourself saying having those negative self-talks and negative thoughts, like working to reframe that, and especially when you speak, because what you speak, you will attract too. Who you are is what you attract. There's a lot of things out there with the way we are that attracts our realities. So it is important to take these things for real if you really want to create that life that you're longing for, that you deserve. And, that's what we're about. And Beth, I think it's wonderful that you are not only on your own healing journey, but you're helping to bring others along with you and to grow and to overcome that. Because I do believe in the community majorly. I would not be where I am today if it hadn't been for me meeting other women and us connecting and staying connected and having that accountability, having that support, having that love, being able to be vulnerable and share my truth with them, and them just helping me to keep going when I sometimes feel like I want to give up, or I feel like I'm in over my head, or whatever it is that I'm going through. It's like there's just nothing like having someone to turn to who understands where you are, what you've been through in their own ways. And they're just like, no, we got this. We got this. You can do this. We've come this far and God has you here for a reason, Beth. So he's using you now to be that message, to be that vessel to help reach other people. And it's such a beautiful and important thing because so many people out there need this. They need you. They need to have someone to talk to, someone to turn to not feel like they're alone, or like how you felt the first day where you felt, oh my God, I'm trapped and I don't know how I'll ever get out of this. But you did. You did. And so you're just evidence of that. And you're someone who can help someone else in a situation who may be feeling like there's no way out, to show them that light at the end of the tunnel, that there is a way out. And there's a way of totally, you know, recreating your story, recreating that life for yourself after the fact, because it is what it is. Unfortunately, you can't go back in time and change things. Lord knows we all probably wish we could, but at the same time, sometimes for me, I think back and I'm like, I wouldn't say I wouldn't have regrets per se, but I wouldn't change anything anyways. If it meant the life that I have today, if anything changed in the past that would lead me to not meet my husband or to have the beautiful children I have, then I would go through it again because I love my kids, I love my life, and I've worked really hard to get to where I'm at. And so if that can hopefully inspire somebody out there who might be filled a little bit with some guilt, like it all works together, right? Everything kind of has its way of working together to bring you to something better if you allow it to. But tell us, Beth, if somebody is listening right now and they could be going through something like this, I really would love to work with you. Where's the best place for them to find you?
They can find me at bethbrunk.com. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, Alignable as Beth Brunk Coaching.
Perfect. And I'll make sure, of course, to include that in the show notes. I think it's, again, wonderful what you're doing. And I always open it up to any final piece of advice that you'd like to share with the audience.
Yes. Well, if you haven't already realized it, I would love for you to just hear me say right now that you are not alone. If you are in a situation like this, you are not alone. There are way, way too many of us out here. It's just the majority of us are not talking about it. So reach out to me. I would be glad to talk with you. Maybe there's a community in your area that you can get in contact with too. But just know you're not alone.
Yeah. And
Pornography use is an epidemic in the United States, and there are a lot of wives who have no idea.
yeah, it's a very dangerous thing too, especially like you said, he started at 12. These young boys, like when you have young kids, like that is terrible. We are so adamant with our son about that because it desensitizes them. And then it makes them need worse, harder things. And the stuff that's out there today is sick. It's terrible out there. So yeah, it is a serious, serious topic. And if you know anyone who needs any help with that, or just if you need some support, someone to talk to, Beth is your girl. Definitely contact her, reach out to her, and just know we're always here to support you in any way that we can. Our goal overall is to show that anything is possible. Our lives is what we make of it. So let's make it the best. Let's rise and thrive together, moms, and really build a foundation for our children so that they are strong and confident and they grow up to be the best versions of themselves as well. That is what it's all about, not just for us to fulfill our own dreams, which we deserve, but our children as well. So, Beth, I want to thank you so much again for being part of the show. It's been an honor.
Well, thank you for having me, Mary.
What a powerful story. I just am so honored to have had someone like Beth come on here and share her truth. And I hope that this helped anyone listening who have been in a similar situation or may be in that similar situation to really see that there's always that hope. And I do want to speak, it's like funny how you're in the moment of an interview and a conversation and then re-listening to things. There's just so much more I wish I could have said and so much more that gets missed. But I will say that I can't even imagine, Beth, how it was losing a child in the midst of still having to take care of so much and not even being allowed the chance to really live in your grief and even honor that part of your journey. But I commend you for being strong and getting through it, and you did the best you could with what you had. And I just really hope you know that. And I know that little girl's looking down on you and so proud of how far you've come. And I do want to send my condolences to you for even losing your daughter, because I couldn't imagine how hard that was, and especially with everything else you were dealing with. So, Beth, thank you again. Just a shout out to you for coming on here and sharing your vulnerability. Here are the key takeaways from today's episode. Your worth is greater than any commitment. No relationship, especially one that is harmful, should ever come at the cost of your safety and well-being. Abuse can take many forms. Emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual abuse can be used to manipulate and control. Recognizing these signs is the first step toward breaking free. Survival mode isn't meant to last forever. When you're in a toxic environment, you may feel stuck in survival mode, just trying to get through each day. But healing and freedom are possible. Leaving is hard, but healing is worth it. Walking away from an unhealthy marriage, especially when facing judgment or lack of support, takes incredible strength, as Beth showed. But on the other side is peace, joy, and the life you truly deserve. Your children are watching. Abuse impacts not just you, but those around you. Breaking the cycle can lead to healthier relationships and a future free from generational trauma. You are not alone. There are people who understand, support systems available, and a path to healing. No matter how deep the wounds, recovery is possible. If you're feeling stuck, unseen, or questioning your worth, know that there is hope. You deserve love, safety, and a life filled with joy. Be sure to check out more about Beth at bethbrunkcoaching.com and get connected with her today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating and review. It's free and it helps support the show and is truly appreciated. Also, share this episode or the podcast itself with others so we can reach more and more moms who need to be inspired and supported. I am so grateful to all of you for tuning in. If you are looking for more connection and network opportunities, I am now hosting my own networking events for mompreneurs called Mama's Mean Business for us to grow our network, mastermind, collaborate, and support one another so we can rise and thrive together. We as moms face even more of a unique challenge when trying to run a business while raising little ones, which is why I created this space for us to come together and make these authentic connections. Visit me at marydibblecoaching.com or click on the link in the show notes to sign up for this month's event, as this will be an ongoing monthly event that you are going to want to be part of. I hope to see you there. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Until next time, much love.